And welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. This bulletin is coming to you live from our studio here at Adesanwe Kanda in Accra. I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Coming up this evening, minority in Parliament is pushing for a further reduction in utility tariffs, describing the recently announced 4.8% cut by the PURC as woefully inadequate. We'll delve into that in a moment. Also coming up, concerns over the frequent replacement of prepaid electricity meters ahead of the planned rollout of new meters by the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. What exactly is the need for these new meters being rolled out? And later, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Cocoa Board, Dr. Randy Abbey, defends government's current cocoa pricing policy amid ongoing public debate about farmer payments and sector financing. We've got all of these and more, including business and sports, at the tail end of the program. Do let us know what has the news summaries. Hello, Christabel.
Hi, Martin. Thank you very much. In the summaries, lawyers of Frederick Kumi, also known as Abu Trika, have filed a preliminary objection to the extradition proceedings initiated against their client. The lawyers argue that per the UK and US extradition treaty of 1931, as well as the Extradition Act 1960 being enforced in Ghana, the charges leveled against Abu Trika are not extraditable offences. Successful applicants in the recruitment exercise by the Ghana Armed Forces have begun picking up the appointment letters ahead of enlistment and the commencement of their military training. In the Ashanti region, hundreds of recruits turned up at the 4 Infantry Battalion, 4BN, in Kumasi, where the exercise is currently underway under tight supervision by military authorities. To Parliament, the minority in Parliament has criticized a recent utility tariff reduction announced by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, describing it as insufficient and not reflective of current economic realities. The Deputy Ranking Member on Parliament's Energy Committee, Collins Adomako-Mensah, at a media briefing in Parliament on Wednesday, argued that the 4.81% electricity tariff reduction approved by the Commission falls short of what consumers should be benefiting from, given prevailing economic conditions. And just before we go, Confederation of African Football, CAF, imposed heavy sanctions on Senegal following the chaotic 2025 AFCON final against Morocco, including $615,000 fine for the federation, a 5-match ban for coach Pap Thiaw, $100,000 fine, and 2-match suspension.
On 13th March 2026, reductions in electricity and water tariffs effective 1st April 2026, with electricity tariffs falling by an average of 4.81% and water tariffs by 3.06%. We say plainly, this reduction is insufficient, and Ghanaian consumers deserve far better. We have carefully reviewed PURC's own quarterly data for 2025. What those figures reveal is a consistent and systematic pattern of overprojection in both inflation and exchange rate assumptions. The warranted tariff reduction for the current period should have been, and I repeat, should have been no less than 10%. Our own analysis of the full year 2025 data concurs. The 4.81% reduction announced by the PURC does not reflect the actual economic conditions of 2025. It reflects a fraction of what consumers are genuinely owed. A 4.81% reduction against a 23% cumulative increase is not relief. Furthermore, we wish to place on record a critical point that this government has deliberately avoided. This reduction has come about while Ghana remains under the IMF program. This incontrovertible proof that the IMF program does not mandate upward tariff adjustments. The MPP did not sign an agreement for perpetual increases. Every single increment imposed on Ghanaian consumers under this administration is the direct result of the policy choices. We call on the PURC to urgently review its methodology, using verified actual economic data to implement a corrective adjustment that delivers genuine relief, not less than 10% to consumers in Q3 of 2026.
And so that's the voice of the ranking on the Energy Committee in Parliament, and they have been saying that they believe that the PURC could go further in terms of the cuts on the tariffs that they announced, which will take effect from the 1st of April 2026. So Collins Adumako addressed the media and made those reservations. Meanwhile, the PURC maintains that its quarterly review process ensures tariffs reflect prevailing economic conditions while balancing the interest of consumers and utility providers. Let's listen to the Executive Secretary of the PURC, Dr. Shafiq Suleiman, who has been explaining this to 3FM.
We are supposed to adjust tariff, set guidelines for the adjustment of tariffs, and also regulate utilities. So we do that every 3 years or every 5 years, what we call the multi-year tariff order, or we do the quarterly tariff review. So when we do the regulatory asset base of the utilities, we are able to do that through the multi-year tariff order, whereby we validate their investments and see how best we can get them to be able to invest in the short term, medium term, and long term to sustain power supply. That's done every quarter. Yeah, so we appreciate the views of every Ghanaian in what we do, but I think we are the most credible experts in this whole business or this regulatory framework. I'm saying that when we have the parameters that we've considered and we've kept in the determination, I think PURC is the data, and what we are doing to get to the final determination is the most reliable and is the best. Whatever any other expert is having or thinking or advocating, we appreciate the concerns, we appreciate the suggestions, but what the Commission has announced has taken into consideration the interests of even the consumer, the expert themselves, and the interests of the Ghanaian consumer and the interests of the utilities. And we do that with using a balancing act. So we are very confident that, I mean, the amount of reduction that we've announced is sufficient enough for both the Ghanaian consumer and also the public utility service provider.
Dr. Shafiq Suleimana is the Executive Secretary of the Public Utility Regulatory Commission, PURC. So we hit the streets to find out from Ghanaians what they make of the latest tariff review and whether or not they side with either what the PURC has announced or the latest concerns being raised by the minority in Parliament. Here are the views shared.
I would say that the utility bills and then the water bill, I would say that the maximum amount has to be how they brought it to us. It's nice price, and then the way it is, because first we used to give us do so and light out. By now we thank our ECG management and then the ECG project people for giving us the maximum limit of how the ECG bill and then capacity it is. So I think the percentage they brought to us is okay to us, and then it shouldn't go any more far, so that we can maintain ourselves, so that people who are suffering can also maintain the power to us.
It's not what's what I mean, we know you're in traffic. Also, to the bill, what I'm going to balance. It's not your breath of heart.
You heard some views of Ghanaians on what they make of the utility tariffs. You can also share yours with us on our social media platforms. We are streaming this bulletin on Facebook and on YouTube. So do look for 92.73 FM and share a thought or two on the stories that we are treating this evening. We're staying with issues regarding power, because the minority, again, has also raised issues about the challenges with the prepaid meters. You would recall that the Ministry of Energy and the PURC launched an investigation into prepaid meters following what a number of people had been complaining about, where some persons indicated that their units on these prepaid meters were depleting at a faster rate. The minority is worried about official silence on the matter. Again, we hear the thoughts of the Deputy Ranking Member on the Energy Committee, Collins Adumako-Mensah.
The world has changed. That 7-day deadline expired on 4th March 2026. Today is 18th March 2026. We are now well past 3 weeks since the minister's directive. The report has not been published. The minister has not addressed the public. Consumers are still watching the prepaid credit drain. This is not a new crisis. The cycle of consumer outcry, followed by audits announcements, followed by unresolved complaints, has now repeated itself at least twice within 14 months. The PRC's own executive secretary, Dr. Shafiq Suleiman, identified 3 distinct technical causes for the rapid credit depletion, ranging from meter connectivity failures to aging hardware unable to process the new MYTO tariff parameters. He further confirmed that consumers would not be left to absorb the cost of metering errors and that PRC would ensure refunds where overbilling is confirmed. Yet, weeks later, not a single verifiable published report has been made public or laid before Parliament. We make the following demands. First, the Minister for Energy and Green Transition must immediately publish the full investigation reports submitted by ECG. Ghanaians deserve to know the scale of the problem, the number of affected meters, the extent of overbilling, and the corrective actions taken. Second, the PRC must lay before Parliament and the public its own findings from the emergency meeting of 26 February and state clearly how many meters have been replaced, how many consumers have been compensated, and what systematic fix has been deployed. Thirdly, we call for a parliamentary committee hearing on this matter, and we will be tabling the necessary motions to that effect. This cannot be allowed to become another promise.
So that's the voice of the minority ranking in Parliament, who clearly is unhappy about the seeming silence being expressed by government, and that's calling Sadomako Mensah again. So your thoughts are also very important on this very development, because you are also a consumer of these electricity being provided, and you pay these tariffs. So the question now is your meter also running at an unprecedented rate, as being adduced by a number of people, for which reason the government decided to investigate? Let us know in the comment section. We'll be happy to share your thoughts with the rest of the world. This is 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition, live from our studios here at Adesanwe Kanda in Accra. We are turning our attention to some other issues now. This time around to the court. The Accra High Court has rejected an attempt by lawyers for former National Signals Bureau Director Martin Asiedu-Dartey to tender the 2020 National Security Budget obtained from the website of the Finance Ministry after the state prosecutors objected to same. Early on, the prosecution and the second witness, the head of finance at the National Signals Bureau, admitted to the court that there were no findings or complaints from the National Security about a missing 49.1 million Ghana cedis. Martin Asiedu-Dartey and his wife, Angela J. Boateng, have been charged with multiple offences, including stealing, causing financial loss to the state, and money laundering regarding a 49.1 million Ghana cedi cybersecurity software deal for the national security. They have pleaded not guilty and are on bail as we speak. Our court correspondent, Lord Edwasari, was in court and has been engaging lawyer for the former National Signals Bureau head. So Samuel Atacha is his counsel and has been speaking to the media.
These past 2 days, it appears things have been going in your favor with the admissions by the prosecution's witness. What do you make of the case so far?
Well, so far, so very good. The prosecution witness is just being factual. There's no way you can improve upon the facts that I would have. And there's nothing that we put across which is not from the prosecution, itself. So this is what we are doing. And I don't want to talk about the legal implication, but if your adversary is admitting, your facts, the conclusion is yours. I don't want to talk about it. But we are not too concerned about this prosecution witness for one good measure, that she can't run away from the facts. We are waiting for Mr. Cromwell, the investigator, who will come and explain how he got into the national security space. I hold the view that Cromwell's day will be the best day in court because of the fact that he became the conveyor belt of Yoko. There's nothing that he's saying that he knows anything about. But so far, so very good. We'll soldier on, and this should continue.
Today you attempted to tender it was an issue that had to do with the national security's budgets, for which reason the prosecution objected to and it was upheld. Now you're being asked to produce it. Tell me a little bit about that.
It was very unfortunate. You see, we generated the budget of the then BNC as sent to Parliament by the Minister for Finance, electronic document, in the sense that we pulled it off from the internet. Everybody can go to the Ministry of Finance's website and get those documents. So we're acutely surprised that a challenge was being lodged against the document, the paper document, which is on the website anyway. And what is sad that the lady identified that it was from the Ministry of Finance, and also it related to the budget of BNC. So the judge said, well, if it's an issue of authenticity, then we should prove it. That's why I sought an adjournment. So I go and bring the volume of the budget for the perusal of the judge. And then we move on. But the lady actually said that, I shouldn't bring the budget, but rather the witness. And I don't know what is wrong with my hand. So there's faith in the hand of the prosecution witness.
And that is the lawyer for the member of, I beg your pardon, he is lawyer for the former National Signals Bureau Director, Kwabena Eduboahe, and his wife, who are standing trial. And you just heard lawyer Atachia there, who has given a position saying that so far so good as the trial has progressed, and they are looking forward to a key witness to appear before the sitting in court. Then they can hopefully proceed with their case. And we are going on to one of our headline stories we have for you this evening, which has to do with cocoa, a very important backbone of the Ghanaian economy. And its chief executive officer, that is the Cocoa Board's chief executive officer, Dr. Randy Abe, has defended government's current cocoa pricing policy amid ongoing public debate over farmer payments and sector financing. Dr. Abe pointed to decisions taken as far back as 2017 when Ghana maintained cocoa prices despite a global downturn by issuing cocoa bills to support the sector. He explained that repayments on these cocoa bills now cost about 2.6 billion Ghana cedis annually. He noted that while the approved producer price remains 2,587 cedis per bag, Cocoa Board is currently paying about 1,400 Ghana cedis per bag due to prevailing market conditions. Meanwhile, the Ghana Cocoa Board has released approximately 4.2 billion Ghana cedis to the licensed buying companies, what we call the LBCs, to pay cocoa farmers who have been awaiting payment for their beans since November 2025. The disbursement is part of efforts to clear outstanding arrears in the cocoa sector and restore confidence among farmers and other industry players. Let's listen to Dr. Randy Abe when he addressed the media.
We've heard things like, we should have gone to take a loan facility and not reduce the prices. Now, the point that we're making is that this is not the first time. In 2017, when we had a similar situation, Côte d'Ivoire reduced their prices by 40%. What happened in Ghana was that we rather floated cocoa bills maintained the prices and floated cocoa bills. And we had Ghanaians and non-Ghanaians buying these bills. Now, the interest payments on these bills were actually deducted from the cocoa revenues before the farmer share were declared anyway. And for 3 years, we didn't even have an increment in the price of cocoa. Now, so these interest payments were funded by the farmers. Now, it got to a point where in 2022, Cocoa Board and government decided that they could no longer pay both the principal and the interest on these cocoa bills. And we all know what happened, DDEP. And people who bought these bills, in order that we do not reduce the prices in 2017, suffered haircuts. And then we also had the tenor of these bills extended. And so we had what you want to call the restructuring of these cocoa bills. And so, as he said, the can was simply pushed forward for the next administration to come and inherit. And now we have to pay 2.6 billion cedis every year. 300 million, 300 plus million in March of every year, another 2.3 billion in August every year. So 2.6 billion cedis a year as a result of those cocoa bills that were floated in 2017. It's 9 years on. We still are suffering the implications of that decision. 2.6 billion. This 2.6 billion is still going to come from cocoa money, cocoa farmers' money. So I wonder why anybody thinks that that is a decision that we should take. These are the repercussions. Those who bought those bonds, they suffered haircuts. The things were restructured. Now you have a burden of 2.6 billion. How are you going to get the money to be paying these bills? But this is the repercussion of a decision taken 9 years ago, 8 years ago. And this is what we're suffering. After 5 years, Cocoa Board raised his hands and said that, and government of Ghana, we do not have money to do it anyway. Now, people think that we all have a short memory. And they go around saying that, oh, this is not a decision to be taken. You should have gone to take a loan and all that. When we did that in 2017, what happened? We're paying the farmer what government has approved to pay the farmer. Cote d'Ivoire is paying 1,400 cedis. 2,587, yes. It remains the same, whilst Cote d'Ivoire is paying 1,400. Don't believe anybody who tells you that we are going to reduce any prices. Look, at the time that the decision was taken to pay the 2,587, we're looking at an FOB of 4.2. Today, it's around 3,000. The farmer share of 90%. Mind you, the NDC government promised 70% of the achieved FOB to the farmer. When we had to reduce the price, government, to minimize the impact on the farmer, decided to give the farmer 90%. Today, that 90% represents about 130%. And so, government is subsidizing the cocoa farmer, because government is paying the cocoa farmer $3,870 per ton when it is sold for $3,000. So how does anybody go around to create the impression that this is a government that is insensitive, does not appreciate the farmer, does not want to burden share with the farmer? It is not true. Let's separate facts and the truth from fiction and political propaganda.
Board, and the conversation continues. So, you know, that many arms and legs have been developing as a result of the current cocoa situation in the country. The president and government, for that matter, have, you know, addressed it somewhat, but it doesn't seem to satisfy a number of other stakeholders in the value chain. The minority in parliament, for instance, decided to visit some cocoa growing areas and to more or less commiserate with these farmers. And there are those who are criticizing the minority for playing politics with a very important aspect of Ghana's economy, which is the cocoa sector. Let's speak to William Evans Inkuma, a man who's been following the minority's visit to a number of these cocoa growing areas. Evans, thank you for your time. First of all, give us an idea. Have these visitations come to an end, or it continues at least for the next few days?
Well, so no, they are still visiting cocoa areas, and of course in the Ashanti region, almost all the 47 constituencies, there's some kind of farmers who are into cocoa plantation. So, and the indication I'm getting is that they are visiting all these cocoa areas. So far, They've covered 12 constituencies as I speak to you now, and tomorrow they are continuing the journey.
What sense do you get? What exactly are they visiting these cocoa growing areas for? What are they trying to solicit from this visit?
Well, so I see two things here. One has to do, the usual politicking. If you speak to some of the MPs, they'll tell you that during the time of the MPP, the NDC, this visited cocoa farms to expose the government. So exactly what they are also doing. Then, of course, they are also letting the cocoa farmers understand that the government has been very insensitive. So, for instance, ranking member on the Food and Agriculture Committee in Parliament and Member of Parliament for Officer constituency, Dr. Isaac Yaopoku, said Bank of Ghana, for instance, revealed that it has received some $3.9 billion dollars, which is equivalent to billion Ghana cedis. And according to him, the government is owing the cocoa farmers 11 billion. So what stops the government from paying cocoa farmers? Exactly some of the things that the Minority Caucus has been telling the farmers. Of course, on the side of the farmers, some are saying that they still have their beans in there. They are not getting a buyer since November. Then, of course, they are also despondent about the fact that the prices of cocoa, or the farm gate price of cocoa, has been slashed.
Right, and finally, so you say they will continue. Where have they visited? Which areas are yet to be covered? And what kind of reception are they getting from these areas they've already visited?
Well, so they visited Bosome Frahon constituency, Asante Akim South, North and Central constituency. They visited Afano South East, Afano South West, Achuman Punia. They've also visited Ahafano North constituency. Today, they visited the Bekwan constituency, Fomena, Mbanso Dubia, and then Manson Kwanta constituencies. Tomorrow, I know they will be visiting the new Dubia constituency, one of the cocoa growing hubs in the Ashanti region. For organization, I get a sense that so they are using the MPs. They do the organization, call the cocoa farmers for them to gather at one place, and then they meet them.
William Evanzinkum, thank you for monitoring this for us, and he's our Northern Sector Bureau Chief, William Evanzinkum, there, helping us understand what exactly the minority in Parliament has been up to as regards their visitation to a number of cocoa growing areas in the Ashanti region. And like Evans indicated, on two grounds. One, to ascertain what really the situation is on the ground and more or less commiserate with these farmers following the fact that some have not been paid since November. And then also there is the second leg of these visitations, which is to play absolute politics with the cocoa sector. So depending on which side of the divide you stand, you probably would have an understanding of what's happening. Let's now speak to Stevenson Anane-Boateng. He is the president of the Ghana National Association of Cocoa Farmers. Mr. Anane-Boateng, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, my brother.
I know that some of you, according to information we are picking, have not been paid since November last year. First of all, give us an idea of what kind of impact this is having on your business, which is the cocoa farming, and your lives as well.
Anyway, good evening to the listeners. Actually, I've heard about the Randiabi and then the minority caucus who was just speaking. And in fact, we farmers, normally when we hear of these people fighting over cocoa pricing and these things, it becomes something which we don't understand, because the MPP, which stands as a minority, has been on power just recently in the left, and this NDC is also on power, and it is their turn to make sure cocoa farmers are paid. We cocoa farmers don't bother about their fighting. I mean, what they are, fighting over. Our concern here is that they should make a proper arrangement to pay us. Because at the end of the day, they are managing the country. It's NDC MPP. And when they come, the same thing they do. When these people come, the same thing they do. You see, if they manage it well, we farmers wouldn't have been at this situation we are now. Because, brother, you can imagine, you've just said, from October to date, farmers are not paid. And, we have been bound by the constitution that we cannot take our cocoa to anywhere and sell. And it's time for them to pay us. MPP was there, and NDC has come. And it was the same problem that is going on. And is this practice that has been continuing to date? If I'm saying this because, you see, when MPP was there, this pricing, we were demanding for higher price. And that time, cocoa price was high. It was very, very high. For them to pay us not less than 7,000 Ghana cedi. They couldn't pay. It's now that they are coming and to farm to meet farmers and investigate about whether we have been paid or not. I mean, we are not in other side of the party, but then they should know that if they set up a proper proceedings for this payment, we wouldn't have been in this situation. The same as Cocoa Board NDC should also make sure he has contract with farmers. And to date and up to date, we have not been paid. So we expect them to pay. As for their fighting, it's not our problem. When you ask NDC about whether we have been paid, they said they have paid the money. We haven't received any money from anywhere.
Right,
so
but Mr. Anane.
Yesterday, you know something? Let me finish. Yesterday, I spoke with Jerome, the public relation officer, director, and he told me they had paid more than 500,000 metric tons of cocoa today. But we haven't received the money. So we were asking them, they should direct us to the person they have paid the money to. We know we have a contract with government and Cocoa Board. We don't know LBC or PBC, PC or whatever. We know government has contract with farmers. So they should make arrangement to pay us. And they say, the LBC, they pay through LBC. So what we have decided now is that we are giving them up to Monday. If they don't pay us, we will let people start arresting all the PCs. Then we take a report from the police and come and mount it on the media platform. Then we start calling for press conference and then let them know that the money is not paid. So whoever is arrested should come and answer the question. That is all. Because
okay, Mr. Anani, sorry, let me come in here. I want to understand what you're saying. You say from Monday you let farmers start arresting who? DCEs or what? I didn't hear that.
They are saying PCs buy from our end. And we know we had contract with government, not LBC or PC or whoever. We are...
but Mr. Anani, you know that there are different people in the value chain. So, yes, you say government has a contract with you or buys directly from you, but it goes through the licensed buyers before then it goes into government storage. So you are saying that you do not see that, you do not care about that. You just want to be sure that the final authority, which is government, must pay you your money.
Yes, that is what I'm saying. When we contact them, they said they are paid to the LBCs, and the LBCs are the people who engage the PCs we sold our cocoa to. But so now the decision is that if we know that we know that these PCs have bought our cocoa, so it is if they have bought it and they are not paying us, then of course we will report them to police stations. We will report them to police, so that the police will make arrests for them to come and tell us who the person they bought the cocoa for, because we need our money from the person who took my cocoa. I need my money from pieces, because pieces to bought our cocoa, not government. And we know government had a contract with us. When we go there, the government says the cocoa was bought by, they are paid through the LBC. And LBCs are also claiming they haven't gotten the money. When you contact your PC who bought your cocoa directly, he says the money hasn't come. And Cocoa is also telling us that he has paid over 500,000 metric tons of cocoa.
Exactly,
so
because we just played the voice of Randy Abe, who's the CocoaBot CEO, and he says that an approximate amount of 4.2 billion cedis has been paid to the licensed buying companies. So, which means that at least, if not for anything at all, we do not know when exactly that money was paid to them, but then you should also be getting your monies around this time. Have you heard anything from CocoaBot directly?
That is why I said I spoke with Jerome, who is the
director of communications,
public affairs director, and he said they have paid so much to the LBC, and the LBCs, we farmers are also crying that we haven't received our monies. So I asked him, what should we do? Because they haven't done any engagement with us to explain these problems.
Okay.
So if we don't receive our money by Monday, we will let our people start arresting all the pieces who have bought our cocoa, because they collect the cocoa from us, not LBCs or government.
Okay.
That is what they are telling us. So that when we arrest them, they also come on board to explain or direct us to the person they handed the cocoa to.
Okay,
so
but Mr. Nani, has this always been the system of payment, like the LBCs take the cocoa from you, they present it to the government pays them, then they pay? That has always been the cycle of payment for cocoa, right?
Cocoa buying. That is the practice of the cocoa buying. They buy it and then they send it to their various places. But you see, the point is, government had a contract with we cocoa farmers, not LBCs, because LBCs, they only license. They are there. It's CocoaBot who license them to buy, to represent them and buy for them.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, when we ask them of our money, they say the money is not paid. Okay. Meanwhile, the government is also claiming the money has been paid. So who?
Okay.
Who should we go for our money?
Absolutely.
That is why we have decided to make this arrest.
Right, and understandably so. But
it's not anything to us, and we cocoa farmers don't mind, because if the CocoaBot did his homework well, by this time farmers wouldn't have that struggle as we are struggling, because cocoa price, we know it's been dictated by the wet market price. And if cocoa goes down to 1 cedi, we understand it. It is something that should happen. And for that matter, we don't have any problem with them as to whether the price has come down or gone up. Our concern is they should pay us. They should let us know that this time round, if CocoaBot cannot continue his business with farmers, so that we know where we should take our cocoa to. Even if we take it to Togo and they give us 1 cedi, we will like it, because we need money to do our farming.
Okay.
It is CocoaBot mismanagement that has actually caused all these problems.
All right. Thank you. Finally, before you take leave of us, what crop season are we in? I know we have a major and minor cocoa season. What season are you in, and how is the non-payment affecting you now?
Brother, the major season started October today, and we are still in the major season, and the farmers are not getting our money. So we are heading to minor season. Very soon the minor season will be open. I don't know their strategies now, but we were expected that CocoaBot should have contact us, so that we also give them idea as to how they should manage the system, because we can also come out with a good idea. When they were doing this, reducing the cocoa, the government should have closed cocoa at that time and tell the public that and the farmers that there has been a problem. So he's closing the cocoa. So he will pay the ones that he has bought until he sorting out all the problems before he comes and open for the next season.
Okay. All right.
We wouldn't have had this problem until just now you said you close it, and at the same time you haven't closed it, but at the same time you've reduced the cocoa price, and we send our cocoa to the PCs. Now we cannot keep our cocoa beans in our houses,
right?
Just because the cocoa, when you keep it in your house, somebody
could steal it. All right.
What are you going to do? So they should find a way, because they are the only people buying it. If they can't continue their business, they should let us know. So that we find a way out, not the price are going up or down.
Or coming down.
It is their responsibility to buy cocoa. If they don't know, they should take it to a parliament as an instrument. And then they are.
Mr. Asiedu-Dartey, thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. And clearly, this ultimatum you're giving government, they would definitely hear it because they listen to 3FM 92.7. And hopefully by Monday, you should be getting your money so you don't, make do of the threats that we have heard you give this evening. Stephen Asiedu-Dartey is the president of the Ghana National Association of Cocoa Farmers, expressing very strong reservations about how they have not been paid, although government says monies have been released and their cocoa beans have also been taken from them, but money has not hit their accounts yet. It's a very delicate subject we are monitoring for you. Would update you subsequently. This is 3FM 92.7. We have business and sports also coming up at the tail end of the show, but we have some news coming in this evening, and it has to do with the courts. The Supreme Court has ruled that public officers must declare assets before taking office, stating that the current 6 months grace period is unconstitutional. Ghana's constitution directs all public officers to declare their assets before taking office. However, Section 1(4) of Act 550 provides a 6-month period within which this provision must be complied with. Executive Director of the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, Mensa Thompson, sent the matter to the Apex Court seeking a declaration that the 6-month grace period granted by Act 550 is contrary to law. He urged the court to declare that persons holding public office who fail to submit a written declaration of assets before taking office are in breach of Ghana's constitution. In its judgment on Wednesday, March 18, the Supreme Court held that the 6 months for public officers to declare their assets was clearly unconstitutional. So that's news just coming in, and you would recall that when this new administration took office, the president even cautioned the appointees and said that they needed to ensure that they declare all their assets quickly. Well, there was a grace period that was given, and from what we are hearing now from the court, any grace period that is given is illegal and must be dealt with accordingly. So we will see what it means, especially for other appointees who are yet to still declare their assets. We would find out what it means going forward and whether or not they are likely to face the rigors of the law. We're shifting our attention to politics now, and before we go into business, let's take you to Parliament again. Minority Leader Alexander Penyo-Marking says the New Patriotic Party would secure a parliamentary majority if elections were held today, arguing that the ruling NDC has failed to fulfill key promises to Ghanaians. He pointed to the reduction in cocoa prices as a major departure from commitments made to farmers and noted that repeated increase in electricity tariffs have further strained consumers. Addressing selected executives of Tescon earlier today, The Afutu Member of Parliament emphasized that the party's chances of winning the 2028 elections will depend on the collective effort of its members.
We all know what is going on in the economy now. Our friends have deceived the entire nation. The promise of increasing cocoa to 6,000 per bag, not only have they failed, they have rather reduced the price per bag of cocoa. 2, electricity tariffs. Throughout Akufo-Addo's 8 years, go and check PURC. In 2018, electricity tariffs were reduced. Within a year, they've increased the electricity tariffs to almost 30%. But even in reality, the tariff adjustment is costing Ghanaians more than the 30% on paper. We are going to chide through the storm. And like I indicated some few days ago, if elections are held today, MPP will be in the majority. But that would also require hard work and loyalty. So we have no doubt on our minds that you take up the mantle. We are in opposition. Do not allow division to break you down in your various schools.
Alexander Penyomakin is the minority leader in Parliament, bringing our session to an end. The latest in the world of business comes your way in a jiffy. This has been Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7.
FM 92.7 coming up tonight. Monetary Policy Committee of Bank of Ghana lowers key lending rate by 150 basis points to 14% as domestic conditions improve amid escalating Middle East conflict. This headline story and others lined up for you. Please stay. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has reduced the policy rate by 150 basis points to 14%, citing sustained improvements in domestic macroeconomic conditions, a favorable inflation outlook within the medium-term target, and high real interest rates. This is despite mounting external uncertainties driven by escalating geopolitical tensions in the Middle East and the potential pass-through effects of rising global crude oil prices. Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama spoke at the 129th MPC press briefing in Accra.
Macroeconomic conditions and also the high prevailing real interest rates. These provide scope to ease the policy rate further. Consequently, the MPC decided to reduce the monetary policy rate by 150 basis points to 14%. The committee will continue to closely monitor developments, especially in the Middle East, and its potential implications on the inflation outlook. The committee stands ready to take appropriate policy actions as needed to safeguard price stability.
And that was Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama. Now, the Center for Extractives and Development Africa, CEDA, is calling for stronger transparency and accountability measures in Ghana's mineral revenue management. It warns that the current structure of the Minerals Income Investment Fund, MIF, falls short of its mandate. Concerns are mounting over transparency gaps in Ghana's mineral revenue management as the Center for Extractives and Development Africa questions the performance and accountability of the Minerals Income Investment Fund, MIF. Speaking on the issue, Executive Director of SEDA, Samuel Bequin, says key reporting obligations, including annual reports and financial statements, have not been consistently met, raising doubts about governance standards.
We've noticed that the governance measures, the transparency and accountability requirements under MIF has not been able to achieve all of them, including annual report, annual financial statement. Though they have published their investment guidelines, they were supposed to publish it in the first or second year of their operations. They only publish it in 2024.
He also raised concerns about recent amendments affecting mineral royalty allocations, particularly the creation of the Mineral Income Holding Account, where a significant portion of revenues is now lodged.
78% of that money goes into that particular account. The question is, what is the transparency requirement of that account?
Samuel Bequin further stressed the need for oversight mechanisms similar to those used in the petroleum sector, noting that mineral revenues generate even more income but lack comparable scrutiny.
Even if we don't want to create another body like PIAC or expand the mandate of PIAC, we should get the government being more responsible by publishing more information about how much mineral revenue came in, even if it is going to big push, how those projects were selected, which projects it's funded, and then letting Ghanaians understand where the monies are being invested into.
According to SEDA, publishing detailed investment returns, beneficiary information, and project outcomes will help ensure that Ghana's non-renewable resources are used to benefit both current and future generations. And that was a report on the Center for Extractives and Development Africa demanding immediate transparency in Ghana's multi-billion cedi mineral revenue management. And that brings us to the end of the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. With me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Ore Kwampofo is here for sports. Please stay.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Oreku Ampofo. London-based African football expert Osasu Obayuwana has strongly criticized the decision by the Confederation of African Football to overturn the 2025 AFCON final result in favor of Morocco, despite Senegal winning 1-0 on the pitch. The controversial ruling, which comes nearly 2 months after the tournament concluded, has sent shockwaves across the global football community. Reacting to the development, Osasu described the decision as a travesty of justice, questioning the integrity of the process that led to such a dramatic reversal of the final outcome.
Rules of the game are the Bible of football. So the first things you go to when you want to deal with any issue is the Bible of football, which are the rules of the game. And Rule 5.2 makes it very clear that the referee's decisions are final. Yes, if you ask me, you haven't asked me, but I will ask, should Morocco have won the game based on a forfeit? Yes, they should have done. But the referee didn't call for the forfeit. The referee demanded for play to go on, despite the game being delayed by over a quarter of an hour. So once the referee has taken that decision, it's a fait accompli. The referee is the president of the game. He decides how the game goes. And no one has the right to tell him how to manage the game on the field. If anyone is not happy with him afterwards, they can institute disciplinary proceedings against the referee. You can ban him, you can remove him if he's found to be incompetent or corrupt or whatever offense you find him guilty of, but you can't change the result.
Well, that was London-based African football expert Osasu Obayuwana. Let's move on to other stories where there's UEFA Champions League action currently ongoing. It's the round of 16 action which continues later tonight. Liverpool host Galatasaray at Anfield. Bayern Munich take on Atlanta at home, and Atletico Madrid have to travel to North London to face Tottenham Hotspur. Liverpool manager Arne Slot believes the backing of the Anfield crowd could be decisive as they look to overturn their deficit against Galatasaray.
Makes it difficult that we've played them already twice and we lost twice against them. The good thing is that now for the first time we play at home and we have the support of our fans, which will be supportive again tomorrow night, because that's what they've always been and will always be for this club. And what I liked after we conceded the 1-1, I think the players showed immediately the commitment they have. They sprinted back in a counter moment with 7 or 8 players to make sure we didn't concede the 2-1, and a moment later they sprinted forward with 5, 6 or 7 to have a 5v2 or a 4v2 on the other end. So that tells you that they are willing to fight, as they've done this whole season and as long as I'm here. I think there haven't been many games where we've been outworked, a few but not many. There haven't been many games that we haven't created more chances than the other team have created, a few, but even less than being outworked. So our players will show that mentality again that they showed after the 1-1, and I'm 100% sure that our fans will be like they always are, especially on European nights.
That was Liverpool boss Arne Slot bringing an end to Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Oreku Ampofo. I'll be back again same time tomorrow to bring you the latest stories across the country and the globe.